Once in the serene city of Enugu, lived a young woman named Amanda. At 28, she carried herself with a quiet grace, gentle, lovely in a pure and unassuming way. Her skin seemed to radiate the innocence of someone who still held tightly to love. Amanda's dream was simple: to build a calm and happy home with her new husband, Richard. She had met him just 6 months earlier in church. He was kind, diligent, and deeply respectful. Their courtship was honorable, their wedding filled with joy. Everyone who saw them said the same thing: "You are blessed with such a husband. This marriage will be perfect." But it was not perfect. Far from it. Because behind the facade of a flawless man, there was a mother with a darkened heart. Amanda and Richard moved into a modest 3-bedroom flat owned by his mother, Mama Richard. Since they were saving to build their own house, Amanda thought nothing of it. Living there would help them save faster. But from the very first week, Mama Richard intruded in every matter. It began with little things. "Richard, why add salt before the crayfish? Why shut the window? Do you call this soup? My son cannot eat this." At first, Amanda endured with a smile, believing patience was her strength. But by the 3rd month, her mother-in-law's meddling grew unbearable. "You're enjoying marriage too much. When will I see my grandchildren?" The pressure mounted. Amanda and Richard tried endlessly: prayers, ovulation tracking, local remedies, but nothing worked. And slowly, Amanda noticed her husband drifting away. It began subtly. Richard came home later than usual. Some nights, Amanda woke to find his side of the bed empty. He would say he was praying or reading at 2 a.m. Other times, he avoided her during her fertile days, claiming exhaustion. Soon he abandoned their room entirely and started sleeping in the guest room. What unsettled Amanda even more was that Mama Richard was often awake late into the night too. Amanda would notice her door slightly open, faint light spilling through the curtains. One night, Amanda gathered courage and asked, "Richard, do you still want to have a child with me?" His eyes were blank as he answered, "I'm not sure you are the one meant to give me a child." Her heart shattered. Lost and desperate, Amanda sought Prophetess Gloria, a revered woman of God in Enugu. After prayers, the prophetess opened her eyes and looked at Amanda. "My daughter, you are not the problem." Amanda leaned closer, curious. "Someone in your home. Someone very close. The seed is being stolen before it reaches the womb." Amanda frowned. "What does that mean?" The prophetess shook her head. "There is an older woman, carrying what should have been yours." Amanda left in confusion. Could it really be her mother-in-law? No, this was the woman who called her daughter. The woman who cooked for them every evening. That night Amanda could not sleep. Early the next morning, she woke to use the bathroom. Passing the corridor, she noticed the guest room door, Richard's new room, firmly shut. It was her ovulation period, and she felt hopeful. Perhaps this time she might conceive. She walked to his door, hesitated, and knocked softly. No answer. She turned the knob. It wasn't locked. She pushed it open, and what she saw left her breathless. There, on the bed, lay Richard, and beside him, under the covers, was his mother. Their backs were turned, her wrapper loose across her body. The glass Amanda was holding slipped from her hand, shattering loudly against the floor. Richard bolted upright, staring at her in shock. "Amanda," he cried. Amanda staggered backward, trembling. "You both of you?" she stammered. Mama Richard sat up calmly, pulling the wrapper over herself. "You have no child," she said coldly. "So you have no right to raise your voice in this house." Amanda collapsed to her knees, tears streaming, not from pain, but from betrayal. Richard moved toward her nervously. "You don't understand," he whispered. Amanda's voice broke as she stood. "You're right. I do not understand." She turned and walked out. But before she got far, a heavy sound echoed through the corridor. Amanda had collapsed, her head striking the tiles. Everything went black, and from a distance, she faintly heard Mama Richard's voice. When Amanda opened her eyes, she was on a hospital bed. Her head throbbed, the overhead light burning into her skull. She turned slowly and saw a nurse beside her. "You fainted," the nurse said gently, "but you're stable now." Amanda looked around, memories rushing back. The door, the bed, Richard, his mother. She sat up quickly. "Where is my husband?" Where is my mother-in-law? The nurse shook her head. I don't know who they are. A man brought you here, but he left. No one stayed. Amanda's heart broke again. She was alone. That evening, as she lay restless, the door creaked open. It was Mommy Former, an elderly woman from her church, one known for speaking only when necessary. Amanda sat up. Mommy Former drew a chair close. My daughter, she said softly. You saw what you were never meant to see. Amanda swallowed hard. I don't know what to do. The old woman looked deeply into her eyes. Listen. Your husband was given to the gods before birth. Amanda's brow furrowed. What? You think his mother is simply wicked? No. She is a gatekeeper. A native priest told her the bloodline must remain pure, that no outsider should ever carry their child. Amanda shook her head in disbelief. But I am his wife. Mommy. In their eyes, you are nothing but an outsider. And to them, a stranger can never be the one to bear their chosen son's seed. Amanda shivered in her sleep. So she's with her own son, just to preserve tradition? Yes, the woman answered. But worse still, she performed rituals with him. She bound his soul. Amanda gasped, covering her mouth in horror. In the village where Mama Richard was born, it was whispered that her first 2 sons died before turning 5. Both times they married women outside their customs. Desperate, she ran to a dangerous shrine and begged for protection. The priest told her, your womb has birthed a chosen one. But if he sows his seed in foreign soil, the tree will wither. She asked what she must do. The priest replied, clothe him with yourself. No womb must carry his blood but yours. From that day forward, Mama Richard swore her son would never father a child with any other woman. No one else must ever conceive for him. So when Richard fell in love with Amanda, a Christian woman free of covenants, his mother smiled and pretended to approve. But deep inside, she had already chosen to make sure their union bore no fruit. 2 days after leaving the hospital, Amanda returned home. Richard was waiting in the living room, his eyes swollen from nights without sleep. Amanda, please listen. Amanda said nothing. She walked straight into the bedroom, packed her things and came out. Tell your mother, she said coldly, that she can now give you twins herself. Richard fell to his knees. It's not what it looks like, he begged. Amanda spun around. Then what is it? She raised me with fear. She told me I would die if I refused her. The first time. I was 18. I didn't know what was happening. She said it was to protect me. Amanda felt her stomach turn. You're not a boy anymore, Richard. You made a choice. She turned to leave, but he caught her hand. I still love you, Richard whispered. Amanda's heart broke. Then fight for me, she said at last. She left the house and stayed with a church sister. That same night, Pastor Bulma visited and confirmed her worst fears. Yes, he said. Your husband is tied by spiritual rituals. She has bound him with blood, but the chains can be broken. How? Amanda asked. Through deliverance, but only if he agrees. Amanda sighed deeply. Would Richard ever agree? The next day, Amanda's phone rang. A strange number. She answered. The voice was calm, almost gentle. It was her mother-in-law. If you try to untie my son from me, she said, you will die before your next cycle. Amanda froze. Her heart pounded like war drums. This wasn't just a threat. It was spoken like prophecy, with cold ancient power. She had faced many dangers in her life, but none like this. She had no family nearby, no mother to weep with, no father to run to, only herself and God. Amanda remained with Esther, her church sister. That night, around 2 a.m., she jolted awake in sweat. A dream or a vision? She stood at the edge of a dark forest. A tall woman in white stood ahead, her eyes burning with fire. She raised her hand and pointed behind Amanda. Amanda turned. On the ground lay her own womb, bleeding. She screamed and woke up trembling. Esther rushed over. Are you all right? Amanda shook her head. She wants to destroy me. The next morning, Amanda returned to the house, not to plead, not to cry, but to end it once and for all. Richard sat in the living room, drinking cold gar from a cup. He looked like a man broken by his own choices. When he saw Amanda, he dropped the cup. She sat quietly. "Richard, do you understand what your mother has done to you?" He nodded slowly. "She told me since childhood that other women envied me, that they would kill me. She warned me never to trust them." Amanda's eyes filled with tears. "So she trained you to trust only her." He looked down in shame. "The first time she came into my bed, I was 18. She said it was spiritual cleansing. I believed her. Every year after, she said the bond had to be renewed." Amanda's stomach twisted. "This isn't just wickedness. It's slavery." Richard's voice cracked. "I know. Then leave. Break free." He lifted his eyes. "She told me if I leave she'll die. She said I'll die too. She said the gods will kill anyone who separates us." Amanda rose to her feet. "She is not God. And your mother cannot keep drinking poison and calling it protection." Richard brushed away his tears. "How do I escape this?" he asked. Amanda held his hand firmly and whispered, "Tonight we're going to the church." At midnight sharp, Pastor Bulma and 3 elders waited inside the deliverance room. When Richard stepped in, the prayers began immediately. He let out a piercing scream. The lights flickered wildly. A sudden gust of wind blew through the windows. His body dropped to the floor, shaking violently, and then his voice shifted, dark, heavy, and unearthly. "You cannot take him. He belongs to me. I fed him blood. I carried him in my womb." The pastors prayed even louder. Richard's body convulsed harder, while Amanda wept, crying out, "Jesus, please set him free." Suddenly, Richard released a final cry, and silence filled the room. The air carried the smell of smoke and something ancient, like old clay. Pastor Bulma wiped his brow and whispered, "It is finished." Minutes later, Richard opened his eyes, weak but conscious. "I saw her. I saw my mother standing in a river of blood, a rope tied to my neck." Amanda embraced him tightly. "You're free now." That same night, far away, Mama Richard shrieked in her sleep. Blood trickled from her nose as she woke. She stumbled to the hidden altar inside her wardrobe, lit candles, and began chanting. But the flames refused to rise. Furious, she screamed, "They've loosed him." Her voice echoed through the empty house. Suddenly, her chest tightened. She collapsed to her knees, powerless, as her shrine burst into flames. By morning, Amanda and Richard stood at the family compound gate. Smoke still drifted from Mama Richard's room while neighbors whispered in hushed tones. Inside, she sat on the floor, her hair shock-white, her voice faint. "I have no more sons." Richard's gaze was steady. "I am not your son. I am a man, and I belong to my wife." Hand in hand, he and Amanda walked away. Days turned into weeks, and news of their deliverance spread everywhere. Some whispered in disbelief, others scoffed. How could a mother sleep with her own child? But only a few truly knew the depth of it, and that was enough. After the fire, Mama Richard became a shadow of who she once was. Her booming voice trembled like a frightened child's. Her wide eyes haunted as though she saw spirits. Richard visited her one final time. She sat in the same corner, surrounded by ashes. Her shrine was gone, reduced to dust. "Why did you do it?" he asked. Her eyes filled with sorrow. "I was afraid. They warned me I would lose you, that women would steal you from me as they did your brothers." Richard sat slowly. "But you were the one who lost me." She reached out a trembling hand. "I loved you too much." He shook his head. "No. You bound me in the name of love, and nearly destroyed me." Rising to his feet, he added, "I forgive you, but I will not return." Amanda went back to work. In time, her smile returned. She and Richard began counseling with a gentle therapist, Mr. Obina, who guided them through their wounds. The journey was hard. Amanda flinched at Richard's touch, haunted by nightmares and self-doubt. But during one prayer, she broke down in tears, not out of weakness but because she was finally letting go. That moment marked the beginning of her healing. Richard, too, started to mend. He joined the men's fellowship at church, sharing his entire story. Some men wept, others stared in shock, but he told it all. "I was used. I was afraid. I called it loyalty, but it was slavery." The pastors helped him rebuild his manhood. Not in domination or tradition, but in truth and spiritual freedom. A year later, Amanda stood quietly at the back of a school hall, watching children sing. She now volunteered at a foundation for abused and silenced girls, seeing herself reflected in their eyes. Outside, Richard waited with a picnic basket, smiling when he saw her. They hadn't rushed into having another child. Instead, they were restoring trust, laughter, and peace, one day at a time. 18 months after the fire, Amanda received a letter, written in shaky handwriting. "My daughter, I do not expect forgiveness. I broke what I was meant to protect. I thought I was saving blood, but instead I spilled it. May God heal your heart, and may bitterness never stay with you. Mama Richard." Amanda folded the letter gently. She didn't cry. She didn't smile. She only whispered, "Amen." In time, Richard and Amanda adopted a baby girl, Grace. They raised her with joy instead of fear. And each night before sleep, Amanda prayed softly, "May I never protect evil in the name of love." The lesson of their story is this: some traditions are rooted in fear, not truth. Some people ruin what they love by clinging too tightly. But love, the true kind, lets go, heals, and chooses what is right, even when it is difficult.